Greetings gamers! Before we begin, it should be noted that what I am presenting today is by far the most difficult script I've written yet. The allure and mystery surrounding what happened to the MMO Monkey Quest in late 2013 and why so much change happened in such a short amount of time is a complex issue. One that, in my experience, not a single person in the community has been able to summarize, let alone summarize well. I want to create a guide of sorts with today's video, but keep in mind, some of the reading and research I've had to do for this video is quite dense. I hope that I can present this complex net of economic intrigue in such a way that is digestible to the average viewer, but keep in mind we are dealing with an issue largely shielded from the public view, and one that, for many, led to the downfall and ruin of Monkey Quest as an intellectual property. This is a fascinating tale and one that I do not take on lightly. This is a story of ingenuity, manipulation, both political and economic theory, and much more, and one that I am quite excited to bring to you today, however long this video ends up being. But first, let's at least set the stage. The year is 2013. Monkey Quest has just received a major update at the end of Q4 of 2012 in the form of the addition of an entire new tribe, the Ice Raiders, along with new enemies, areas, weapons, armor, and a ton more. Things are looking pretty spicy for the Monkey Quest community. But one big problem is plaguing Nickelodeon's marketing department: player retention. It should be noted that this issue wasn't just a Monkey Quest problem, but a threat for the entire MMO industry. You see, the membership system which many MMOs, including Monkey Quest, used as their backbone was becoming outdated. With the rise of mobile and microtransactions, people simply weren't willing to pony up $10 a month for their favorite MMO anymore, when they could find entertainment for free or cheaper elsewhere. While Monkey Quest did have a premium currency, Nick Cash, even that was largely a backburner income in comparison to what membership was able to bring in. One small issue: people weren't paying for membership. Monkey Quest was especially unique in that it targeted a very young audience, specifically males between the ages of 8 and 11. Many of these younger players struggled to get past the first areas of the game, and thus never even reached the opportunity to buy membership, especially with the heavy text-based focus of the original tutorials. Inherently, Monkey Quest was never designed for a younger audience. In fact, there's heavy evidence that in the early concepts of 2009 and 2010, the game was actually targeted towards a 10 to 14 age range. However, despite the inherent design for older teens, Nickelodeon was still marketing towards 8 through 11-year-old children. 2013 would carry heavy casualties for the MMO industry, with MMOs like Toontown Online, Pirates of the Caribbean Online, and Pixie Hollow all losing life from the decline of the membership model. Viacom knew that something had to be done to save the game. The following quotations are taken from the work of Justin Diaz, a man who we will become deeply familiar with within the next few paragraphs. Now, it must be noted that our boy Justin did not act out of ill intent, and frankly, the conclusions he came to about Monkey Quest, mainly that it was indeed far too complex for the younger audience Nickelodeon was targeting, were quite correct. Monkey Quest's downfall, as we shall see, came more from how change was implemented and less why change was implemented. I interned for Nickelodeon under the title of User Experience Intern in Nickelodeon's video games division based in San Francisco for a brief time. There were a variety of projects that I had my hands on, including my part in assisting in the review of the game Monkey Quest's first time user experience. Being a part of the Nickelodeon family, this title's main demographic were children under the age of 10. The major action item for that quarter was to improve first-time user experience and make it easier for the demographic to get immersed in the game and not abandon due to difficulty getting started. The primary demographic for user testing were boys around the age of 8 through 9 who played online desktop video games. And so, we had 5 children who had never played Monkey Quest before sit down in front of a computer and play the game. Data and visual cues were then aggregated from user video playback, and a full outlined report was created. I will spare you the boredom of reading through the entirety of this report, as it's quite dense. I'll link the full report in the description below, however I will cover the broad brushstrokes here. Many of the testers knew of Monkey Quest, or at the very least of the MMO industry. The 8 through 11 age demographic tested was apparently very influenced by Club Penguin, a notion which appears to have directed much of the social aspect of the late 2013 update. An early sign of struggle for these testers was the dice, or randomization button found in character creation. While this was small, the real issues started to begin once actual gameplay started. Players had trouble understanding a variety of things, from the use of the quest tracker to equipping items to consumables. Many players were reportedly thrown off from the simple nature of Nugo Village due to the amount of text the game presented. Despite being one of the most linear levels in the game, Nick's 8 to 11 target audience was still confused. The inherent issue that Monkey Quest is a game designed for 11 to 14 and yet marketed to 8 to 11 was truly beginning to show. Some serious changes, either to the marketing or the game itself, would need to be made to keep up with the competition. Nickelodeon had to choose between making the game easier and more linear to draw in that intended 8 to 11 target audience, or completely change their player base focus to shift to 11 to 14. The salvation of the game was on the line. Viacom had to make the call. In late 2013, Viacom began a series of updates which would completely change Monkey Quest as we know it, overhauling nearly every UI, major areas of the game, and even the payment system itself, shifting more towards a Nick Cash than membership-based economy. Ultimately, Viacom decided to take up the offer to shift even further towards the 8 to 11 age range and away from the 11 to 14 audience. The more plastic design and the increase in Nick Cash focus shows an attempt to escape the pitfalls of the previous version, albeit misguided. The issue for many old players was that those who had grown up with the game from 2011 to 2013 saw the new version as childish and playful, and were pushed away because of it. The many new players who did come and were in the intended 8 to 11 age range, however, as well were pushed away. Once the first 10 levels of the game which had received linearization were passed, despite the new childlike UI, the difficulty and exploration of what came after had gone untouched. Younger players couldn't adapt to the older environment. While the advice and goal of change was good, arguably the demographic chosen hurt the game for the future. These updates could not save Monkey Quest from the MMO decline of the early 2010s, and the game shut down on September 26, 2014. It must be asked though, especially if you've gotten used to the format of this channel, why did what seems like such a foolish mistake happen? Why, on a greater, perhaps even philosophical level, do we see this fallacy of treating whole masses of a game as one homogeneous whole? Well, we have to cram a moral in here somehow, so... Populism as a term has lost a lot of its punch in recent years, as it's become sort of a homogeneous gathering of the idea of broad appeal. Merriam-Webster defines populism as a political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel that their concerns are disregarded by established elite groups. At first, this may seem like a very strange definition to apply to what we're talking about here. Sure, 8 to 11-year-olds are certainly a people group, but they aren't necessarily the ordinary people or the proletariat, and certainly aren't going up against an established group or elite group. However, let's look at it from a more cynical marketing lens. The 8 to 11-year-old demographic is made out to be the ordinary people in this scenario. Things like the chicken zapper, burp can, and Fartchlet, why do I make videos on this game, are all attempts by marketing to make 8 to 11-year-olds feel at home in Monkey Quest. The dumbing down of the early game difficulty accomplishes this as well. The marketing goal was to make 8 through 11-year-olds feel at home. So, who then are the elite upper class? In this case, it's the no-fun adults. Nick's whole brand, especially in the mid-2010s, relied on the idea of by kids for kids, or at least in theory, an area fostered by the idea of kids versus adults, versus the world. This would seem like a somewhat heroic standard, so why did it go so horribly wrong? The failure here is that if a whole group is treated, whether that be kids or on a greater level in regards to populism, a certain ethnicity or a certain social class, as one individual with the same goals, you're inevitably going to make some pretty dangerous generalizations. In this case, by treating 8 through 11-year-olds how 8 through 11-year-olds are quote-unquote supposed to be treated, not only did they alienate anyone outside that category, but even those within that category felt talked down to, like they were maltreated. Ironically, this has created a sort of populism in the Monkey Quest community, with Viacom being framed as the elite upper class, and the community members being the victorious proletariat, the ones going against the corporate heads. Ultimately, every decision Viacom made was with the best intentions of the game's future in mind. After all, this do be capitalism, and they were the ones who stood to profit. However, if anyone, just like Viacom, makes hasty or sweeping generalizations of an entire demographic for their own benefit, there are inevitably going to be pitfalls. Generalizations do not unite, but only lead to discord. I hope you enjoyed yet another philosophical rant on Monkey Quest. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to give me my daily shot of dopamine. If you have any video ideas for the future, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.